I know some of us were in person. Some of us had the house parties as well.
Over
Lighting up the
there.
I was rooting for
scene. Yeah.
BTK, but it wasn't per se like, I wanted them to go internationally. I wanted them to have a good match because OP's just been dominating throughout the whole entire double round robin, and everyone at the party was all voting for OP. There's maybe like one other person that like wanted BTK, but as the match gets drawn out 1-1 and like the series gets closer and closer, 3-1, and then like suddenly the comeback comes in. Like, it was
Y'all
pretty
know,
heated.
but I tried so hard when I was casting just to stay very biased because obviously like I can't really lean over to one side when I'm casting. Unbiased, my bad. I tried so hard, but even
she could get clipped.
even aside
All
of
the chants.
that,
I
like,
actually got into like a chant battle with one of the BTK viewers. They were screaming out BTK. I'm screaming out OP. I think everybody lost their voice that was at the venue, man. It was a great time. Absolutely
It's
insane.
tied up. One team wins, the other team wins the next one, and I was constantly at the edge of my
It
seat,
was unreal, right? We watched it. We didn't know how to process it. There was so much going on. It was so back and forth.
we had one of the best productions actually, and knowing and just like you guys said, like everything overseas is a sweep, but we were literally the first ones to go all the way to ABO7. We had over 85,000 people watching on the actual esports page, and it got screenshotted. Like we were
Ladies and gentlemen,
we were up
welcome
there.
to the MLSA Recess, an official podcast brought to you by your favorite MLSA talent. My name is Wheezy, the founder of MLSA and one of your hosts and also a caster. Today's going to be insane. We're going to be covering a lot of topics that we'll jump into here momentarily. But before we jump into that, let's jump into who makes the MLSA staff desk.
Hello everyone, it's Yue right here. Ex-professional player. I do jump on the casting desk once in a while here, and I do host a lot of events throughout the North American community. Just glad to be here, glad to be a part of MLSA, and shooting it over to the next one.
Hello, I'm Eunice. I am a former NACT caster as well. I do cast a lot, so you'll catch me everywhere, but my main home is MLSA. That is where I first started my first casting. Thankful to Deku for putting me out here, but on to the next.
What's up, y'all? I'm Ram. You may know me as the only Odette player in NA. I do analyst casting for the MLSA. I'm part of the head staff, and I got into casting because of Weezy and Yue. So, Weezy and Deku, sorry. Oh, passing to the next.
What's going on, guys? I'm Coach Deku. A lot of you know me for good or bad reasons. I guess it depends on who you are. I started casting out with Weezy, kind of trolling around on his Facebook streams. A lot of people kind of found me over there. And here we are a couple months later casting NACT with a bunch of the people you see here on the podcast today. And we got a lot to talk about.
Yeah, definitely have a lot to talk about. As you see, our entire MLSA staff through Season 1, Season 2, and now we finally made it to Season 3. Definitely shout out to everybody that you see on this entire panel. And now, moving forward, a little bit of a brief summary of what we're going to be jumping in today is we have some spicy topics. First, we're going to be going over the NACT as an overall agenda, right? We're going to be covering the double round robin, how we feel about that, how we feel about some of the teams in North America compared to other regions, and so much more. And then moving from that, we're going to be talking about Season 3 as we've officially opened up the doors, the gates for the Mobile Legends Scrim Academy for teams to be able to compete again. But there is a slight difference as there's a lot of major changes, but in the betterment for North America in its entirety. And then upon that, we'll be jumping into a little bit of some extra spice as we have some upcoming additional tournaments on the way where you guys can earn a little bit of cash. You can compete and get your names out there for North America and go toe-to-toe with some of North America's best teams. And then, not to mention, it'll be a qualifier to another special event, another tournament. That's right, 2 tournaments for NA right after the NACT spring season. So definitely a lot to unpack today, and make sure you guys tune in and catch all of it. As we are going to be moving forward, special shout out to everybody on the desk, the MLSA staff. We're going to kind of jump into this. A lot of questions are on the line throughout this entirety of today's show, and we're going to get your opinions from some of your NACT casters, your MLSA staff, and how we kind of feel about it. So the first thing we're going to jump into is the NACT, right? The spring season is the first time that we've kind of did a lot of things there. There's a lot of first times in that one, right? The first thing was the double round robin. Not something we did before, and I kind of wanted to get you guys' input on how you kind of feel about that format, and if you like it moving forward for NA.
I enjoyed it.
I did too, to be honest.
Yeah.
I gotta ask.
I think it's fair.
What did you like most about it? Do you think it was kind of cool, like to see teams maybe not have an easier time on the first half and then dominate in the second side? Do you think it made a difference between teams?
I feel like with the double round though, it's like we already talked about this actually on like the actual ML YouTube account where we had like the round table and stuff. It's just like, if you think about it, if some teams, if it wasn't double round robin, they'd already be out, but like them having a second chance and being able to get their points back up, because we know that BTK and Ackerman at one point were neck to neck. Like OP was just dominating at that point, but it was Ackerman, BTK, and what was the last one? Fallout? Was it Fallout?
Yeah,
Empire?
it was Fallout. Yeah,
right?
And Empire. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then at one point, A77 was doing really good. I don't know what happened, but they just...
Well, jumping on that topic, what do you kind of think, like with the double round robin, what team do you think struggled the most? This should be a unanimous decision, but, I got to hear you guys' opinions.
Limey?
I mean,
yeah, like there's only one option.
It really is. It's just Lamey Top.
But I will say, Lamey Top made the ending of NACT so interesting because they took down like 2 teams with them.
They did, actually.
There was like 3 teams running there was like 3 teams running for the Final 4 spot, and Lamey Top single-handedly eliminated 2 of them and made the last option, which was Empire, a breeze in. So that, I guess it depends on what you call struggle.
What was it? A77 got knocked out immediately. And then, Fallout, unfortunately, they couldn't do anything because Empire won before them. So, but if you think about it though, if Fallout played before Empire, those 2 would have been neck to neck, and they would have to. They'd be tied.
Yeah, jumping on that exactly. Like Fallout, that was the biggest thing was Fallout and the Empire, who could take that 4th seeding, and Empire actually won by 1 set, so they had 1 series win above them. And that's what kind of forced Fallout to be taken down. But it's funny that you mentioned Lamey Top, right? They were literally on a sinking ship, and they were grabbing any team they could to deny them a chance inside of the finals.
A77.
Yeah.
That was A77.
Yeah, I think that was one of the funnest things to see.
Hey, I had a good question because we got Yue here, right? And Yue is the only one that's competed professionally, at least prior before. For the double round robin, how do you feel seeing it? Because you competed previously. We didn't have double round robins going on. Do you feel like maybe that would have been something nice to have in those previous tournaments we had? Or did you feel like watching this, you're like, dang, I wish we had this when I was competing professionally?
Well, like the thing about double round robins, like you kind of have the safety net, and it's a good question, Deku. Thank you. And it's a very, very long tournament. It's kind of dragged out. I do think the people that get to play it get a lot of experience playing for it, but it's definitely going to be a much longer tournament. Now, some teams, they get that first L and they're like, yeah, we're done. If you run into that and you're still in the top 8, that kind of means that like you guys have to hold it together, you have to stick together, and we're talking about like weeks after weeks. So I think there's good parts to it. For me, any team that made it to the top 8 was like they were getting a lot of matches done. But for the rest of the teams that didn't make it to the top 8, that was kind of like the bad part, because I don't think they really got that many matches going into this tournament.
Yeah, I will say, jumping on that, what was your guys' opinion about Area 77? Because Area 77, they were one of those teams, man.
God,
I was like die-hard Area 77 in the beginning. I thought they were just going to dominate, breeze through, but I feel like, that was one of the biggest upsets for me is I just didn't see them hang on there. I feel like there's just, maybe it was swapping roles here and there. I'm not really sure. And then we've seen that a lot as well. Like
they change their roles.
Yeah.
For no reason.
So how do you feel about that? When it comes to a 5-man professional team, do you think it's a smart thing to change roles? Are you against it or are you for it?
I feel like you could change roles, but you have to still be putting in practice though, right? If you're going to introduce new strategies, you have to actually still be trying to refine your skills, because we've seen it all the time. People could be at the top and all it takes is people with a little bit more dedication and force going behind them, and they can take you out. And unfortunately, that's what happened. I think once you put in that work, you can be free to do whatever you want. I think even for one of the matches, if you look at BTK, we saw they put Singh back in the goal lane for a few matches and had someone else jungle. So I think once you're actually planning ahead and saying that, okay, we potentially want to make something happen, you could definitely make it happen and make it happen successfully. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good read on that. And, you know, I think something I noticed is the top, let's say the top 4 teams in North America. Oh, I wouldn't say 4 because Empire made it through there. But the top 3 teams, they didn't really swap roles too often. I mean, there were some crazy moments where we got bamboozled a couple of times during the draft. I mean, we seen Shark run a fanny in the roam or in the roam position, and you know, a lot of surprises. But overall, I in my opinion, for the double round robin, I liked it. Right, I think it's something we should implement more. It's kind of similar to what they do over there in MPL overseas, and I honestly think, and you guys probably agree with me, this was the best NACT we have ever had for North America, and possibly the best grand finals that Mobile Legends has had in its entirety for something of a caliber of an MPL series.
I mean, going back to like the main like switch up and subs and stuff, like you guys definitely every single team has a 5-man starter, right? So like your basic 5, but there's subs for a reason. And if you're gonna have a sub, you have to be able to play with your sub at that same professional level. And like A77, I mean, you and I actually talked about this on the actual NACT stream. You and I talked about it, and we were both confused because we were like, bro, like they have a really solid 5 lineup, but they took their solid 5 lineup and swapped everybody on their opposite rules. So like it wasn't even a sub at that point. You were just mixing up everybody, and like you and I were fucking rooting for everybody in A77, and we were actually rooting for them. They're like, why? Like they are really good. Like Mark Cutie on Brody, like first Maniac. And then all of a sudden, like, halfway through, they just started playing, like, so weirdly. And then at the very end, started switching up lineups. And I was like, why don't you just stick with your first 5 lineup? Like, you guys...
If it's not broken, don't fix it.
I mean, if you want to talk about switching lineups, the biggest switcheroos were Lamy top. I don't think there was any weekend that they had the same players in their initial roles. Not even in some of the series, like even through a full series, there's times they were swapping roles within the series. But there was never a weekend they had a consecutive series where they had the exact same roles, exact same 5, and they switched the most, and they also lost the most. So I definitely do think the role swapping is harmful to a degree. I think honing in on your singular role is the best thing you can do. Like we said, those top 3 teams, a lot of them they just locked in. You didn't have a lot of role swapping. It's hard to pull off at this level. It's hard to pull off, to keep doing that, keep adjusting, because there's different decisions that you have to make in the specific roles and how they impact on the game.
I think so too.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you gotta be like
professional.
Really, you gotta be really talented to be able to actually swap a role and do well, because you know, in terms of like, let's say like you one trick a role. I play Rome, and there's so much that you could learn about Rome that it's really almost endless. And to be able to play professionally on 2 different roles, you're only seeing like a selected handful of people, and even those handful of people, they usually swap roles after the tournament ends, not during. Now, once again, NACT, this time is the first time that we ever had such a grand tournament with the double elimination and, you know, the round robin. So it gave a lot of players a lot of time to adjust, but I don't really think the role swapping is that meaningful or that impactful.
Yeah, I definitely can agree with you on that. I mean, when you look at overseas, right, you look at big name teams that have been around a little bit longer. I mean, you mentioned, like, let's say Blacklist for an example. You don't ever really see Venus swap over to something else, right? You don't really see any of those players kind of swap. Now, I do agree with you and kind of harping on what Deku said as well. When you swap to a different role, it just provides a different dynamic. It changes the synergy, right? I mean, every 2 people play a different way, and I think you got to look at that when you do swap roles. It's not always about like, I can play this hero or not. It's also about like how you rotate in that lane and how you create that opportunity for the team. And I think that may have been the downfall for some of the teams inside of North America. Now, while we're on that same topic for teams, I got to ask you guys, out of all teams, outside of BTK, outside of Outplay, who was your favorite?
Empire.
Empire.
Well,
Empire was
really
my
I would
favorite
say
team for
Fallout.
sure.
Fallout?
I
Okay.
like
I enjoyed Lamita. I think they kept NACT exciting despite whatever people had to say. Yes, we had a great grand finals, but I think not knowing what to expect anytime they played just made it even more interesting. And I think there was one time when they pulled out the alpha, right? That no one expected anything like that. And I think those little, cliche, funny moments is part of what actually makes up a tournament. Yeah, you have the serious teams. Not saying that they weren't serious or anything, because, they still went in, they tried, they showed up, and they performed, right? But yeah, I really enjoyed it. I think they added a different layer to NACT this year.
He made it really fun, funny. I won't
So,
wait.
speaking of fun, in the border of serious and unserious, Weezy, I think we got something else on the table here to kind of get into. One of the crowd favorites for the NACT.
The crowd favorites? Are you going to... Oh. Hold on. There was a lot of twists and turns and burns, so I got to get a little bit more specific with me, Deku.
Come on, man. We're talking about the Wasians. The Wasians, man, being knocked out. How'd you guys feel about that?
I missed the Hanabi, man.
The Hanabi?
It's tough. I think rules are rules, and in terms of the professional plays, even this happens throughout sporting history for a lot of different things. Maybe not such thing as some piloting issue, but in terms of like cheating or throwing games and stuff, I definitely feel like it is something that NACT has to take a step on, and they have done this previously with Vendetta. So I'm not surprised that they were able to kind of do it again, but it was a little bit tough because now, instead of 8 teams competing, we're only looking at 7.
That messed up the bracket, actually.
Yeah, it did. I feel like it's just a different dynamic to kind of manage. Like when you look at overseas, when you look at like their qualifiers for international tournaments, their qualifiers to go to the M series, it's all done in person, right? So majority of it is done in person. So they don't really have to fight that battle. But when you can kind of get away with not really knowing who exactly is behind that phone, how old they are, it's a lot harder to manage, and it's a lot easier for the player on their standpoint to be able to fake some documentation and things of that nature. So it's always going to be an upscale battle when you kind of do it that way. Hopefully as a region for North America, moving forward, maybe one day we get, I don't know, maybe one day. I think we can all agree anything is possible after seeing that grand final series in NACT. Maybe one day we have an in-person top 8 performance, kind of manifest that into reality. And unfortunately, we run into situations like Wasians where they can't come out, they can't compete, even though, they took a slot for the top 8 in North America. So I think for me personally, going back to favorite teams, mine was definitely Area 77. I really hope that down the line they kind of figure out their kinks and come back and compete again. I would like to see them in the top 8 moving forward. And then also, I would like to see a team who can, I feel like if you make it to top, if you even sign up to compete, you have to be able to make it all the way to the grand finals. Not only the grand finals, but you have to be able to fly to these international events as well. Because if not, you're kind of wasting everybody's time. And it's just a super upset when you run into those situations. So speaking of these situations, moving on to the 2 powerhouse teams in the grand finals. I know some of us were in person. Some of us had the house parties as well. Lighten up the scene. Yep. And, we're going to dive into both of those situations. So I guess first, from a watch party standpoint and, having everybody watching in your house, how did you feel about the grand finals and everything that kind of came into it all the way to a game 7, UA?
Well, the biggest thing that we kind of have to compare is all the international tournaments, and I believe majority of them were sweeps. Like it was just one-sided. So going into the North American grand finals, I was rooting for BTK, but it wasn't per se like, I wanted them to go internationally. I wanted them to have a good match because OP's just been dominating throughout the whole entire double round robin, and everyone at the party was all voting for OP. There's maybe like one other person that like wanted BTK, but as the match gets drawn out 1-1 and like the series gets closer and closer, 3-1, and then like suddenly the comeback comes in, like it was pretty heated and everyone was pretty much in shock. It was a great grand final series.
Yeah, I was wondering. I saw your house kind of jam packed with everybody, and we were there in person, a couple of us, and I know Rim, unfortunately didn't make that one, but Rim, were you able to catch the grand finals? How did you kind of feel like all the way to a game 7, and also like who did you think was gonna take it?
Honestly, I didn't really favor any side because I think both teams have very powerhouse players in NA, right? They have some of the best in their respective roles. And I started watching it from my room, and then I had to go get some chores done. So what I did, I moved my entire location. Our TV could be expanded, so I had like the audio playing from that, and then I had my laptop where by the sink, right? So I was watching it, and it's like after I put a dish down and I rinse it out, it's tied up. One team wins, the other team wins the next one, and I was constantly at the edge of my seat. Like I remember I finished doing the dishes, and the series was still going on, and I'm like, oh my god, why is it not done yet? But it was enjoyable, and hearing, even from watching it on screen and hearing the responses from the audience, when the live audience, when people make a play or someone wins and the tables turn, it was just as exciting, and I enjoyed every second of it, honestly.
I'm glad to hear that, and getting your perspective of things. I mean, it was a long show all the way to a game 7, so I don't know how many dishes you had to wash, but hopefully it was.
It wasn't much, but I remained in the kitchen until it was done because I didn't want to miss anything, honestly.
And now moving that forward, that question over to Deku. You were there in person to kind of witness the whole thing firsthand, front seat, VIP section, man. How did you feel? Okay, I'll jump into 2 questions for you. How did you feel about Outplay not claiming victory over BTK? Did you expect it? Were you more thinking BTK was going to win the entire time? And how did you feel overall for going your first ever NACT Grand Finals in person?
It's a lot to unpack there, but absolutely, I did think OP was going to end up coming out on top. I voiced some concerns about the team, specifically more behind the scenes, not really on the interviews and stuff, about things potentially going to BTK's way. But overwhelmingly, yeah, I did feel like OP was going to end up taking the win. I mean, it kind of breezed through the whole season undefeated, took one loss that most people don't really even attribute to a loss, and more so to them trolling. So as far as the numbers went and statistics, besides Zane, having a flawless stat sheet when it comes to winning the big events to go qualify for world events. Outside of that, OP had everything going in their favor. So I was a little surprised that they ended up taking the loss. But I mean, hell, game 7, that was probably the most electrifying experience I've been in, and especially from being my first NACT, like you said, that was a great welcoming package to be able to get the best final series that has been happening in any of the regions. So that was absolutely insane. I was up there, like you said, in the VIP section up on the 2nd floor, and it's a lot of the big hardcore supporters up there for either OP or BTK. I'm looking out at the fans. I'm hearing all the chants. I actually got into like a chant battle with one of the BTK viewers. They were screaming out BTK. I'm screaming out OP. I think everybody lost their voice that was at the venue, man. It was a great time. Absolutely insane.
Speaking of losing their voices, now I got to swing this question over to Eunice. You were actually on the casting desk alongside me.
I was.
Your first ever NACT appearance as a caster. And I got to ask you, from your standpoint, were you surprised with the outcome? Did you think it was going to go to a game 7? And how was your experience casting the entire event?
So, obviously, this is my first, big stage casting. So, I kind of expected everything to be, really big and, huge and whatnot. But there was actually, you and I saw it in the casters group chat, but there was a YouTube video of some person when we were reading the Twitter comments during halftime. We had one of the best productions, actually, and just like you guys said, everything overseas is a sweep, but we were literally the first ones to go all the way to ABO7. We had over 85,000 people watching on the actual esports page, and it got screenshotted. We were up there. The whole thing was just so much, and you and I couldn't even scream much when we were sitting in the front row seats because we had to cast. So we were trying to keep it down low. We were just yeah, woohoo. We were really excited, but we can't say anything because we had to cast literally the next couple matches. But I obviously, if y'all know, but I tried so hard when I was casting just to stay very biased, because obviously like I can't really lean over to one side when I'm casting, but unbiased, my bad. I tried so hard, but
Literally, she could
a,
get clipped.
even aside of that, like honestly, I really didn't expect the score to be so tight, because when we were casting like the playoff stage and everything, it was so dominated. Like everything was just moving fast with OP. Like we were talking about 12-15 minute matches, at most 20. The one game against Fallout was a 20-minute game. One against BTK was a 20-minute game. But they won all of those. So we were I know everybody went to NACT expecting like, all right, OP might as well just sweep this. Like it's really not. It's kind of obvious. They have a 27-1 score. Like, come on. And then we go there, and then maybe it's a big factor that Yureshi isn't there. So because Yureshi is OP's late game shot caller. Now they use sub and promise. There's no shot caller. So like a lot of comms were a little bit fluctuated, and like I guess that's why, things weren't into their favor, and everybody was like surprised that like OP threw a 12k goal lead game, and then it flipped on them, and then BTK won. So like I don't know, it was a really good series though. We went all the way to BO7, to the point where people overseas were like, no way they went all the way to BO7. Production was on point, like casters were on point, everything was actually beautiful. It was so nice.
Yeah, I love how you kind of mentioned all that. I mean, now speaking of myself and my experience with it as well, kind of similar to your story, when we were sitting down there in the audience. So we didn't cast the first two games. That was Trex and Private, amazing casters. And they kind of painted that picture for the first two matches. And me and Eunice, we decided to go sit down with everybody in the audience to get the full effect, right? And it was funny because it was so hype. Just game one, the intensity that you could feel off of it being there in the audience, and hopefully the same thing for UA and Rim watching from afar, was just, it was unreal, right? We watched it, we didn't know how to process it. There was so much going on. It was so back and forth, and BTK just kind of put the world in a shock, right? And like you mentioned, 27-1 outplay. The only time they lost, they didn't lose to BTK.
No,
BTK never claimed a victory in a single match against Outplay.
Yeah,
exactly.
That's why I was so shocked. Like, what? And like when we were sitting in the front row seats, like even though we weren't casting, and since we're both casters, I'm an analyst, you're play-by-play, so we have a lot of like outside image, like knowledge. We were sitting literally in there, we're just like, yo, like we're talking about draft, we're talking about lineups, we're talking about players, how they play this, how they play that, and we were just sitting and like whispering at each other like, okay, this is not gonna go well, like this is not gonna go well, or like he's gonna get caught out, blah 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 blah. And we're talking about draft, we just couldn't bring the hype because we had to cast. So like but like the whole thing was just surreal. Like, it's crazy, like it actually is crazy. 27-1 outplay for BTK to win.
And I gotta kind of harp on that and ask you guys, what do you think? What changed for BTK to be able to pull that off? And I'll shoot that question over first to UA.
Best of 7 series, we're talking about like championship experience. We're talking about like not choking and going for the long run. And if the series is a sweep, it's still a 4-0 game. But a lot of the times, a lot of the teams, even in like different sports, you have adjustments that are being made. You have people watching their matches back to back. So like I feel like since this is a championship game, there's a lot of time in between to prepare for it. They also had like 2 weeks in advance to go over the games and stuff. It's all about the preparation. It's all about the adjustments, even throughout the matches.
Yeah, definitely a good way to break that down. And kind of harping in on that. When you look at Outplay, they had 3 superstars on their teams, international experience. You're talking about Basic. You're talking about Hoon. You're talking about Shark, and not to mention, okay, Yureshi didn't play in the grand finals. Did that affect them? A little bit. I can't knock Promise being the fault, but I can say what Yureshi offers to the team definitely may have hurt them without him physically being there, right? I mean, I was there stepping into the room time and time again. I'd hear Yureshi helping them with the draft over the phone. And it's just a different dynamic when you actually have him in person, when you have him down on the desk with you saying, with that intercom or with that headset on saying, no, we're going to draft this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this on the fly, right? Because it's really hard to make a plan in the background scene with the team before they go down on the stage for game 2, for game 3, and it actually play out the exact way he said it on the phone. So that's credits to Ureshi to be able to help Outplay get all the way to a game 7. That's not the easiest thing to pull off, and that just shows you how valuable he is as a player. And unfortunately, he wasn't able to go to the grand finals. He's still going to be on the team, and definitely something to look out for. But I want to give credit to Promise, right? I know I don't want it to get confused, guys. Promise in the XP lane, he did really good. He did exactly. He did. We saw him playing the glue. We saw him bullying.
He did great.
It's not him as a player. It's not his rotations. Like, he was a star role in a lot of the victories that they even claimed out of that series. But I think, this is the kind of problem that we run into for North America when you don't have an actual coach, when you don't have an actual analyst behind you to kind of help you out and figure things out. I think that's where they fall short. And with Ureshi making it up, not only being an XP lane, but also stepping into that coach/analyst role, I think that's where they kind of hurt. But in terms of just pure XP lane and focusing on the objectives, Promise definitely nailed it down to the wall. But moving forward from that, guys, honestly, I think it was an amazing experience for everybody watching, not only from their homes, but watching in person as well. None of us expected it to go to a game 7. I mean, how could you with how well you've seen Outplay kind of dominate 27-1? But it was the best thing we've ever, probably been a part of. And I don't know how many series can kind of go toe-to-toe with it, but maybe somebody in the comments can let us know. What was your guys' favorite series outside of the grand finals for NA that maybe we can take a look at in the future? But moving forward for that, guys, 2 amazing things came out of this event, right? Not only does the team move forward to MSC, we officially got a slot for IESF as well. That is the Mobile Legends Southeast Asia Cup and the IESF, one in Cambodia, one in Romania. And I think that's one of the biggest things that we kind of have to be proud about, right? This is something totally different that we didn't have available to us last year. 2 international events outside of the M Series to be a part of. And I got to ask you guys, how do you kind of feel about that? Are you excited about it? Are you hoping? What do you think? Not only are you excited about it, but how do you think we'll place as a region compared to other contenders?
I think it's more so than just, I know people are like, it's an opportunity for NA to like go out there and just compete, right? And a lot of people are hoping that we get high placements or whatever. But for me personally, I feel like what it offers is kind of what we got to see a lot from BTK, right? Leading up to their M Series run, and even for the Valley with Zane on the team, where they spent a lot of time overseas. They didn't just go over there with no experience. Like, Zane and the team got their feet wet. They committed. They went to the regions to actually go participate and play and get accustomed to the metas over there, the play styles over there. But a lot of teams aren't afforded that opportunity. And I feel like a trip to MSC, a trip to IESF, while yes, it is an opportunity to go out there and put on a great show for your country and rep your region to the fullest, it's also potential for, one of these, the winners of that, whether it's BTK or OP right now, which is kind of hanging up in the air, either one of them, you're talking about fall NACT for that trip to M5, they have that experience now. From going to Cambodia, going to Romania, competing against these powerhouses out of our region, it's a lot of extra practice now that they'll get to, take part in to prepare to go to that coveted event for M5.
I feel like as long as NA has representation in these tournaments, that's a win for me. So I will always feel good regardless of who's representing us. I think the more opportunities that we get as a region is going to benefit us overall. And I want to see potentially, yes, this one spot is generous, but NA is huge. And if we can have like 2 teams potentially represent us, then I'll be here for that. So I don't necessarily know where I want them to play specifically, but I just want them to go in there and give their best, because I know they have it in them, and regardless of who goes in, minus like all of the social stuff, I think overall NA is in good hands regardless of who represents us.
Yeah, I think it's an excellent breakdown over there from Rim. Whoever holds the spot for NA for either of these events, we know we're in good hands. I mean, they were literally all the way to a game 7. So, I mean, in terms of micro, in terms of macro, it's pretty much spot even. And I'm comfortable being proud, whether that's BTK, whether that's being Outplay, represent us. And hopefully, everybody will support no matter what team moves forward. And speaking of moving forward, speaking of things coming out for North America, now over to the MLSA, the Mobile Legends Scrim Academy. We've officially opened our doors up for season 3, guys. So man, it's been a journey, right? Season 1, season 2, NACT spring season, best finals we've ever seen, and now MLSA season 3. And there's going to be a lot of new changes on the way as well. So definitely it's going to be broken down by our amazing talent, our amazing staff on just what you guys can expect in the next few months and also in the next few weeks. So let's go ahead and jump into that. And what better way to start it off than Yue kind of introducing some of these changes?
Yeah, so for some of the new changes coming out for this season, we will have a new schedule, and it's going to be Tuesday, Thursdays, 3 best-of-3 series starting at 9 p.m. EST, and Monday and Wednesdays, the 2 days that we don't have the best-of-3 series, we're going to have some content of the teams that are currently competing. So it's going to be like highlights, it's going to be recaps, you guys, some of the people out there that don't really have time to watch a lot of these shows, we're going to definitely have the recaps coming out on those 2 days. Now past the non-community news.
We're definitely going to have a lot of community things going on within the NA region as well. So keep an eye out for those, because we do know that, I know you guys love to compete in tournaments, but having those outside little small things and all the tournaments, little small whatever they plan to do, we're gonna have those as well. So I want you guys to keep an eye out for them. We're gonna definitely have that very represented, so don't miss out. It's not just MLSA too, it's everything. So we're gonna make sure we get that covered for you guys and make sure you guys have a fun time staying with us.
Mic check, 1, 2, 3, because on Fridays, we're going to have 2 to 4 episodes of the MLSA Recess podcast. And yeah, we've wanted to do that for a while now. So when you see this is going to be the first episode of said podcast, right? So definitely look forward to that. You have a lot of different and interesting personalities on here. So yeah, we're going to jump into some topics. And again, that's going to be on Fridays, 2 to 4 episodes every month. And I'm going to pass it right over to Deku.
Someone pass this over to me. I guess we're going over for our tournament. So for you guys from the MLSA, a lot of you already know, we took part in a lot of tournaments, hosting them or offered our caster talent services to people that were hosting events in and out of the region. We hosted in North America, we hosted in the Philippines, in Europe. For a lot of tournaments, some Discord events, and we're going to keep that going into season 3. We got a lot of crew and a lot of staff now to really help us, especially with UA jumping on board to help us host. It's going to be a lot easier. It's going to be a lot more things we can get our hands on this time. So for sure, we'll have dedicated weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If you guys are looking to host events, if you need someone to be able to host, for the broadcast, for production, you can reach out to us. If you need some caster talent and you already have your production set up and you just need some extra help, you don't have anyone to kind of be that commentary for you on those amazing games you're looking to host, you can always reach out to us. I personally handle a lot of those things. You can always reach out to Steph Weezy as well. Shoot us a message on Discord, or anywhere on our social medias. We'll definitely reach back out to you, try to set something up. And that's just what we're all about. We're definitely not just for the Mobile Legends Scrim Academy, but we try to get everybody involved in for all regions, whether it's North America or PH again, EU, or even any other regions we haven't tapped into, man. MLSA is always here to help not just our teams growing in North America, but teams growing in other regions and other communities trying to make their own scene.
Excellent.
With
breakdown.
that, we are going to be heading it over to Wheezy.
Thank you, Deku. Yeah, like you said, we're here for you guys, just like you're here for us. Our whole goal when we started this was to create an opportunity for amateur teams to take their talent to a professional level, and also casters, right? We're always looking for additional casters that want to step out of their shell and get put on the big screen and become a professional esports caster, right? I know we picked up Deku. He's been dominating Rim, UA, Eunice, and that's just the very beginning of it, guys. And if anybody wants to cast, definitely reach out to us. We're easily contactable by our Discord server, the Mobile Legends Scrim Academy, and that will be in the description of today's YouTube video as well. And also all the social media links will be in the YouTube description. And you can also follow us on YouTube for more updates and opportunities in the future. But speaking of the future, speaking of tournaments that Deku kind of harped in on, as we said, Season 3 has officially opened up, and we have an MLSA season opener for Season 3 tournament, which will be opening registration in the early phases of June. We don't have an exact date yet, so make sure you guys follow us on Discord to stay up to date, but there will be a cash prize. The last time we did a tournament was a Valentine Dash. and it was the Season 2 tournament. We gave out $750, partnered with Raz, and we gave over 25,000 diamonds to teams. So make sure you guys stay up to date with ongoing events, as we're always looking to host not only our own tournaments, but as Deku stated, we also offer services to broadcast tournaments as well, and we also offer services for us to jump on as casters for those who need it. And now, like I said, speaking of that tournament, MLSA Season 3 Opener Tournament is on the way. Registration will open up in the beginning phases of June. Stay up to date on Discord, and we're going to allow all these teams to compete for a cash prize and a diamond pool as well. And the top 2 teams who do win that tournament for first and second place will have a ticket to another tournament, but this one will be a little bit more private. We will see 8 teams competing, as we've officially partnered up with Trex. You've seen them on the caster's desk as well for the NACT Grand Final for the Mayhem Cup. And that'll have a cash prize as well. I believe it's going to be around $1,000. But like I said, all of this is subject to change. The prize pool may increase as we go forward. And the only way for you guys to stay up to tune with all these changes is to follow us on our Discord server. And that's pretty much it, guys, for all the changes in Season 3. We really appreciate everybody tuning in, man. It's been a blast being able to do our first ever podcast, Recess, the MLSA Podcast. And like Rim stated, it'll be coming out to you guys 2 to 4 times every single Friday, every month. So make sure you guys are looking forward to that. We are as well. This has definitely been a pleasure to be a part of this with these amazing MLSA talents. And speaking of talents, I'm going to pass it on clockwise, starting with UA, for some closing statements before we head out.
Yeah, so guys, just make sure to come out, support us, hit that like, hit that subscribe, follow us. You know, look for us on Discord, tag us, ask us questions, do anything you want. We're all out here to help out with you guys and help out the whole North American community. So, you know, just show some love. We'll see you guys around.
Knowing that I'm one of the casters up here, so as a caster who first started, Deku was very nice to introduce me into the area. And I mean, with the actual experience myself, if any of you out there wants to try casting, and trust me, it might look scary, but I mean, look where I got now, NACT caster, all thanks to Deku, Wheezy, and everyone, and Rem for taking me out of my shell. But if you guys want to compete, MLSA is definitely open. Don't hesitate to contact any of us, though. Our socials, our Discord is always open. You can find us anywhere. We're usually active almost all day, so if we don't answer, we're sorry. But you can contact us anytime. Look out for all the tournaments, all the fun things we're about to open up. We are in Season 3, so definitely a lot in stock, so I'm excited.
You know, I kind of just want to shout out Eunice. I don't want to make this about me much. You know, she made history, right? Especially in NA as the first female caster. And, y'all, she's only been casting for a few months now, and she's already been able to achieve so much as in her occupation as a caster, right? She has the playing experience, and now seeing her representing not only herself, but representing the girls in esports, right? Usually it's a male-dominated field across all avenues, and just seeing her be able to achieve so much and represent a different layer of people. I'm very proud of you, Eunice. You know that already, and I just wanted to, you know, hype you up because you did the thing, you know, you went out there, you represented, and you killed it. So, yeah, shout out to MLSA. Only good things come out of MLSA, y'all. So definitely tune in, and I look forward to seeing what happens for Season 3.
Rim was spitting. It's hard to follow that up, but just for me, man, you know, being here, especially from the start, it's been a journey, and I'm so proud of all of us, honestly. And obviously, I have my little hand in bringing on some people, Eunice, UA, especially UA. Okay, I spent a lot of time trying to get UA in, but I'm just happy to see everyone joined in, from Wheezy, Rim, Eunice, UA, myself. We have a really good thing going here. We've done a lot so far in our community and other regions as well, and I'm just looking to keep doing that and just keep offering better services, because, you know, we all play the same game, no matter about opinions or who people are with, their teams they cheer for, players they love to see. We love MLBB at the core of it all, and that's just what we want to keep improving and pushing forward.
And pushing forward, guys, thank you so much. You guys are an amazing team. It's been a pleasure working with you, and I can't wait to see what we pull out in the future for not only Season 3, but all the seasons to come. everybody across the land of Dawn. My name is Weezy. I've been your host today as well. It has been a pleasure, and that is going to conclude our show. But like I mentioned, it does not stop here. It's going to go forward throughout the entire year and forward after that. Make sure you guys follow all of these amazing casters on their social media. It'll be in the description below, and you'll also see them for Season 3 casting on the desk. UA and myself as the host, and also casters, and then everybody, such as Rim Eunice, Deku, UA, and myself, casting to paint that perfect picture. This has been Recess, the first ever MLSA podcast, officially opening up the doors for Season 3, and we look forward to seeing you guys here soon.
No, you gotta say your little thing. Everybody stay safe or whatever.
This has officially been Recess. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Take care of yourself. Take care of each other. And we'll see you guys on the next one. Peace and love, baby.
Peace and love.
See ya.